It's at the end of the year, and there's been some videos out there floating around about the best knives for the year or something of that effect. So the two that I've been watching specifically are the Late Boy Scout and Gideon's Tactical put out some good ones. So go over there and check out their channels and those videos because they're good. But I'm going to do the same thing with my own take to it. What this is going to be is if I had to get rid of all my folders, this is just folders, what are the 5 folders I would keep, and we'll discuss a little bit about them. The 6th knife I'm going to throw in there as a Razzie, so we'll take a look at that one and why I don't like it. Cold Steel, either the Recon 1 or the American Lawman. Now, the reason I picked these, I know I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I'm going with 2, but I'm actually counting this as 1, is I really like the aggressive texturing on the handles, and the Cold Steel knives are reasonably affordable, but they are tough as nails. These things will take a lot of abuse, and they hold up to it quite well. There are some things I don't like about them, specifically the black coating on here. I think the coating sucks. And then another little pet peeve of mine is, see how that blade does not go all the way back to that plunge line or that choil area right here? That I think should be fixed. Easily enough fixed by myself. I just need to sit down and do it. But that would be probably the first blades I would keep. And let's move on to the next. Second is the Spyderco Endura 4. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of people who would disagree with this because a lot of people don't like the scales on these. They feel that they are cheap looking. And okay, I can see that. I don't necessarily like the looks of the scales per se, but I do like the functionality of the scales. The bidirectional texturing or whatever they call it on here, I really like the way that feels and works in hand. Also, I do like the VG10 steel, along with the full flat grind and thinness of this blade. And in general, I tend to favor the longer blades. So that's why I would hang on to this one. It's also very lightweight, so for a backpacking folder, this would be a great option, and those are some of the reasons why I would keep this one. Taking a big departure from the size requirements is the little Victorinox Classic SD, I think is what it's called. But this one, I really enjoyed this knife because it is such a great companion blade to my other bigger knives. And it's got a little blade on it right there. I use this one a lot, actually, this knife in general. Got a small little file with a screwdriver on the end of it. And then on this side, you've got a pair of scissors. And then you've got a pair of tweezers, and you've also got a toothpick. So this one I really enjoy. There's a lot of uses for it. And again, what I will do often with this one is just stick it in my coin pocket in my Levi's, and it just rides there. I barely even notice it's there until when I want to use it. Oh, going back to those handle scales again, the Spyderco Dragonfly. I like this one because it's a very small blade. So, you know, you can tuck it away in your pocket. It easily disappears. It's extremely lightweight. We're back to the VG10. I'm not a huge fan of VG10. Don't look into that too much. But I do like the way it sharpens. It gets a wicked edge, and it retains it okay. It retains it well. But I think, honestly, the reason why I would choose to hold on to this blade specifically is I've done a lot of carving with it. I've done a lot of little wood spirits, and this blade has done excellent in carving those because of the thinness of the blade, because of the point of the blade, and just the overall small size. You can really choke up on it with that finger choil. So it's just been kind of a fun blade to play around with as far as the carving goes. Now, from an EDC perspective, it's a really good one as well. But again, for me, I think of it more of a backup blade than anything. Last but not least, this is the Spyderco Mannix 2. And I have really enjoyed this knife. Now, I got this knife when it first came out years ago, but unfortunately, I lost it. I was doing a rappelling down a waterfall, and it was in my pocket when I started and was not in my pocket when we got done. So unfortunately I lost it. I finally picked this one back up, and honestly, I haven't had it for a couple years or so, and I forgot how much I really like this blade. Now, there have been a lot of updates to it since the time that I had the original, one of them being the full flat ground versus I think it was a high saber ground, if I remember correctly. But I like this design much better for this blade. And again, one of the reasons I think that drew me to this one is I like the overall looks of it. I like the aggressiveness of the scales. I like the jimping underneath, but I like the character of this blade. I like the black, I like the silver, I like the jimping there and what that looks like. Just overall, I think this is a very pleasing knife to the eye. And this one, there's a lot of options as well. I think most guys who have this knife tend to favor the lightweight version instead of the G10 version on the handles. But I just like the way this one looks. So that's the reason I went with this one. So there is a quick view of some of the knives that I would keep, or the 5 knives that I would keep in my collection. Again, what I like about this one too specifically is the S30V. I tend to favor a little bit on the higher end type of steels. I find that they just hold an edge better. You can sharpen them at a much steeper angle and they'll maintain that same edge. So they're a sharper knife. Overall, I just prefer them. There's a quick look, and now let's move to the Razzie. Let's take a look at that one. The knife did not look like this when I originally got it. Gosh, I can't remember the name of this now. This knife it's an HK, and it's patterned after the gun. If you look at the handles, it's got the same pattern that one of the HK guns have. And I saw it online. I kind of like the look of it. And honestly, I thought the handles would be more of a grippy type pattern. Yeah, there's a theme there. But they were not. They were just very slick plastic. Also, the liner on this, the liner lock, if you watch, just if I put a little bit of pressure, you can see that flexing in there. See that bend? It's just not a very good knife. The thumb stud, not thumb studs, but the thumb stud is only on one side. And there's only one way to carry that, which is kind of hard to see now, but it is tipped down on the right-hand side, and that is it. For the price of this knife, which at the time, I think I paid about $30 for it, you could get a Tenacious, you can get a Skyline, and to me, not only were those better options, those options just blew this thing out of the water. So what I did with this one is I decided to have some fun and thought, you know what, I'm gonna try doing a little customization on the scales. That's the first time I did it on that one. It turned out okay. Turned out a lot better on that side. And then the spacer doesn't originally come with these grooves in it. I just put those grooves in it to add a little bit of character because I just thought this was kind of a boring knife. Out of my collection, those are the 5 that I would keep. Certainly this Mannix 2, at least right now, as being my favorite. I love the S30V steel. I like the high-end steels, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but this locking mechanism, I really enjoy these type of locking mechanisms. The access lock being that for the Benchmade versions. And as I look at it, I tend to favor my Spydercos a little bit, and I think I tend to favor a little more of the thinner knives instead of the bulkier ones in general. But maybe I'll do one of these in a year or so and see if it's changed since then. It'll be interesting. Thanks guys for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, share the video if you like, and subscribe if you haven't. Really helps out my channel. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later.